Today on the campus of Penn State University, the Michigan Wolverines have arrived with a single purpose: position themselves for a share of the Big Ten title. Moments ago, words of wisdom from the Michigan staff.
And champions, here's the real thing right here. They keep their eyes on the prize. They are focused on what we have broke that huddle with every single day, is Big Ten champs.
It's a big day. You understand that. We're going to have some fun. We don't need more than what we got in this room. We need all of it.
What's Michigan? Tough. So today is a test to see if Michigan is who they say they are.
It's one of the biggest games of the season for the Michigan Wolverines, 12-5 in the conference against 4-13 Penn State. Here are how the scenarios lay out for a Big Ten championship on the final day of the regular season. Michigan State, with a win over Ohio State, wins the league outright. Ohio State clinches a share of the title with a win at Michigan State. Michigan gets a share of the title with a win here today, and the Michigan State lost to Ohio State. Jim Barber and the coach, Stan Dockich, don't you just love those Michigan coaches there? They're excited, and you know at the start of the season, Michigan wasn't supposed to be in the hunt, so how was everybody, or almost everybody, so wrong?
Well, they forgot about John Beilein. John Beilein's won wherever he's done. The job he did at West Virginia was the best coaching job I've ever seen, and he's carried it over to Michigan now. They also, with Darius Morris, who we're going to talk about here in our one-on-one, excuse me, with Trey Burke, replaced Darius Morris. They have a great freshman point guard and a great coach. That's a good start.
Let's go to some of the best guards in the country as we go one-on-one.
Well, Trey Burke is the best freshman guard in America. He's explosive, he's tough, he's great late game. He's like Jordan Taylor at Wisconsin in that he plays with a really low center of gravity, doesn't turn the ball over a lot, great in the mid-range. Guy you've probably never heard about is Tim Frazier. Tim Frazier, 18.8 overall, but you know, he's upped it in the Big Ten now. The Big Ten, in my opinion, the best scouted league in the country. He's a leading scorer in Big Ten games with 20. He's tough.
Well said. Backcourt for Michigan includes Stu Douglas, Trey Burke, and Tim Hardaway Jr. having a spectacular year. Zach Novak and Douglas, by the way, have not missed a game. Jordan Morgan up front for the Wolverines. For Penn State, there's Frazier, Glover, and Marshall much improved in the backcourt. Up front, Travis and Jonathan Graham. Home white uniforms for Penn State, the maize and blue to Michigan. Douglas on the baseline and finding a shooter. Good start for the Wolverines. Hardaway Jr.
Well, great start for Hardaway Jr. Michigan staff feels like if Hardaway Jr. and Evan Smotrich are shooting shots, they can beat anybody in the country. And it's Hardaway was 4 for 4 last game against Illinois from the three-point line. We're going to see a little Matt Gatens here maybe today who had 12 in a row.
Hardaway had that run against Illinois of 11 consecutive points in the second half. Head coach of Penn State in his first season, the fiery Patrick Chambers.
I love him, and I love what he's doing here. He's instilling a culture of energy, of toughness. We saw it this morning, 8 o'clock in the walkthrough. He's got a knee brace on his left leg. He's got surgery coming up, but it didn't stop him from being all over the court this morning, 8:30.
And he was sick last week. Assured us today he is healthy. Marshall out front. And the opening possession for Penn State. Double team in the baseline and blocked by Novak. Second opportunity, Glover misses. And the junkyard dog with a rebound, Ross Travis.
Hey, Penn State is in overall leading the conference in offensive reboundings with 12. In Big Ten games, they're second with 11 offensive rebounds. Michigan is not a good rebounding team. This could be a huge deal in this game.
Pretty good number for Penn State considering how good this league is. Three ball on the way and buried by Jermaine Marshall.
And that's what happens when you give up offensive rebounds on both ends. If Michigan's able to offensive rebound, it's going to be for threes on a kick out. Same thing there. A couple offensive rebounds results in 3 points for Penn State.
Marshall of 8 points over his average of last season. Here's Trey Burke with a left-handed drive and blows by everybody.
A really nice set. Trey Burke on a handoff against Graham. Graham nowhere near quick enough to stop Burke from going to his left.
Well, it was Tim Frazier against the world, against the Purdue Boilermakers. They put a lot of people on him, and he still scored the ball.
He had 16 at half, and he was like 1 against 4.
It's one of Patrick Chambers' favorite players, Ross Travis. Last time out, a runaway win for Michigan over Penn State. Rematch today in the Lions building. Good pass from Burke. Novak cut but missed it. Burke on Frazier, but Michigan will switch. And off the loose ball, it is picked up by the Wolverines. Smotrich on the drive to the goal. John Beilein's got an NCAA tournament team that could very well run deep. The Wolverines playing some of their best basketball down the stretch. It's already been to the tournament in 2009 and last season with the Wolverines.
Yeah, I said in the open, he did the best coaching job that I have seen. I was at West Virginia for 5 or 6 days. I can't remember as the head coach. And when I
Long
left,
tenure, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure it lasted a week, but West Virginia took about 10 days, figured it out. John came in there, cleaned house, and got to the Final 8 within 3 years. It was the best coaching job I have ever seen. People nationally then recognized what John Beilein was about, but people certainly in the Buffalo Northeast area knew what John Beilein was about and what a great coach he is.
Any feel for how deep that team can go this year in the NCAA tournament?
They feel like if they can shoot it, particularly from Smotrich and Hardaway, they can beat anybody in the country. Now, that has to happen. Hardaway, we're talking about an under 30% three-point shooter, and Smotrich, who had 5 straight double-digit games early, hasn't found his rhythm in the entire Big Ten season.
Frazier off the bounce, buries the 3.
Now, that's a bad play by Stuart Douglas in the zone. When Frazier is on your side, you have to have your hands up. No matter what, they have to be up. And then you can always put him down, or maybe he goes past you, fine, but they have to be up taking away the shot, because Frazier's only about 5'11", 6 feet. Douglas 6'3".
In other words, don't give Frazier any room. But talking Michigan and their possibilities in the big dance, let's review their resume, and it's a good one. Wins against the RPI top 50, down toward the bottom of your page, 9 of those. Strength of schedule, excellent. RPI, equally as good.
But you know what I really liked in the open was when John Beilein was talking to the team, he was talking about championships. And in the Big Ten, that is the #1 thing of coaches.
It's no secret Penn State shoots the ball much better at home than it does on the road. And with all the conversation on Frazier, Michigan certainly will keep its eye on Jermaine Marshall, who has 6 points off the double team. Michigan with the ball on alternating possessions, but a good start for Penn State, up by 4.
And Audi, truth in engineering.
With Dan Dockich, Jim Barber, 6-0 run for Penn State. The difference in our game with 15:34 to go first half. Dan will be quite busy in his favorite city, Indianapolis, on Thursday, opening round of the Big Ten tournament. And let's assess the field for the moment. It is now a field of 12 as opposed to 11.
Well, my favorite city is actually the Gary Maryville area in northwest Indiana. But Indianapolis, the region area. Yeah,
gotcha.
I think that Indiana and Purdue are playing better than anybody in the Big Ten right now. Are they the best team? I don't know, but I know they're playing better right now. You look at Indiana and what they did to Michigan State, Jim. It was amazing. I mean, Michigan State, you never had the feel could win that game. And Purdue without Kelsey Barlow, Ryan Smith, the senior, said, and I'm quoting here, it's addition by subtraction with Kelsey Barlow. Well, it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to go out and play it for Purdue. The ball is moving. Robbie Hummel is getting screened for. Robbie Hummel is starting to shoot the ball now. And you know Purdue's going to play tough defense. And make no mistake, Indianapolis, that's going to be pro-IU or pro-Purdue depending on which one makes it the farthest.
Indiana has played so poorly over the last 3 years. It is a welcome sight for Hoosier fans to see a good team in Indy.
Jim, and I think people just kind of dismiss, well, they haven't been any good lately. Well, that's last year.
Burke with plenty of space for the outside, knocked down an NBA-type three there. First time around against Penn State, 13 points and 7 assists. Michigan and Penn State both shooting the ball quite well so far. Penn State hasn't missed a three. This time muscling inside as John Graham scores.
Penn State is having a bad year. Okay, they're struggling. They've had injuries. It's been really tough. New coach, but man, are they fighting. I mean, they attacked the ball, and you saw there Graham attacked position, and he attacked the basket to finish.
No Cameron Woodyard, who broke a foot in warm-ups against Purdue, and no Billy Oliver, gone for the season because of concussion issues. Tough enough to beat Michigan with a full complement of players. Now you have to do it without.
Yeah, and Billy, look, you're missing shooters. You're missing experience. They just had senior night, and they're 2 seniors, as you just said. They're out there in uniform just ceremonially. When you're missing that and you're shorthanded to begin with, it's a tough year.
Foul called on Penn State, owning a 1-point lead 6 minutes in. Both Woodyard and Oliver honored before today's game in senior ceremonies, and Billy will still be with the program next year, but in more of a, I suppose, grad assistant or assistant position. He calls it a medical position.
Yeah, well, he's, concussions have eliminated him from his career, and it's just so sad when you see a kid who is obviously a good player, but more importantly than that, a great kid, playing in the Big Ten and watching him shoot before the game. I mean, he's lights out. Well, there's Oliver right there, and his career is coming to an end. Let's look at what Michigan is doing here. Watch Evan Smotrich right here. He's going to dive. The help has to come from down here. You'll see where we're at. This is twice now Michigan has had a wide-open man in the lane. The help has to come quicker. If you're slow to help against screen roll, as Travis was, number 43, you're going to give up layups to Michigan.
Zach Novak at the free throw line, playing in his 131st game without a miss.
I say this every time I broadcast a Michigan game. This kid was not recruited out of Chesterton, Indiana. Had a chance to go to Harvard with Tommy Amaker. Was a baseball player, terrific baseball player. Nobody recruited him. Late, John Beilein and his staff saw him, took him, and now he's 1,000-point scorer.
Novak and Robbie Hummel, pretty good rivals in the Porter County Conference. How about the start to this game for Penn State?
I just think Penn State has come out playing hard.
Hardaway extends himself and will go to the free throw line for 2. Tonight you can catch NBA action in prime time on ESPN. 7 Eastern, 2 division leaders get together. Derrick Rose and the Chicago Bulls, and Andre Iguodala and the Philadelphia 76ers. Then at 9:30 Eastern, Ty Lawson and the Nuggets against Tony Parker and the Spurs. The NBA on ESPN, ESPN3, and also streaming live on WatchESPN.com. The Bulls are 30-8. Best record Eastern Conference.
How about Derrick Rose? I mean, Derrick Rose has been sensational. How about the job of the Sixers?
Yeah.
My college roommate, Courtney Witt, is director of player personnel, so I got to say he's done a great job getting guys in there, as you said, first in the Eastern Conference.
Doug Collins, the coach there. A couple of chances for Penn State, and pulled out of the air by Novak, and Michigan on the move. Smotrich had a glance at it and lost it.
Look at how hard Penn State plays. It's not just the dive. I mean, anybody can dive. A lot of guys dive. But when Smotrich was faking, guys were out of position, recovered with their hands and their feet, and was just more aggressive than what Evan Smotrich was.
So you like guys that dive with a purpose, right?
Yeah, I think everybody can dive. And everybody goes, wow, look at him dive. Well, you're going to do that. It's how active you are going to the glass. It's how active you are with your hands on the ball. That tells me how hard you're playing.
That's a teaching point, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, look, ball's going out of bounds. Who's not going to dive in the Big Ten? Everybody is.
Step back jumper on the air by Stu Douglas.
He has been so mature. Put in the starting lineup 12 games ago. just so mature. He settles the team down. He makes tough little fadeaways in the lane. Doesn't score much, no double figures last 8-9 games, but just adds sense to a team.
Douglas playing in his 133rd consecutive game. Travis, neither team missing much in the early going.
That kid is good. Travis, this is my first time seeing Penn State live, first time doing a game. Travis plays hard, he's tough, and he's always attacking. He got in a fight in the shoot-around, not a fist fight. I don't think anybody really saw it, but he and a walk-on got after it a little bit.
Out of bounds to Penn State. Travis already at his points per game average with 4. They call him the junkyard dog.
Watch how fast. Now, Smotrich is standing up for some reason. You never stand up as a defender. You stay in a stance. Most teams take away the middle, but certainly all teams tell you, keep the man on the wing in front of you. Smotrich just not playing in that possession.
Travis has started 15 games as a true freshman. Penn State, home white uniforms, and the early 1-point lead in a game Michigan needs to win to position itself for a share of the Big Ten championship. There's some of that hustle you spoke to.
Borovniak just went up over Morgan, tapped it out, new possession.
Frazier, offensive foul, number 23. For that, a television timeout, 11.5 for the first half. Patrick Chambers has his team playing hard.
Was on the gurney in the hospital, literally could hear them say, well, this guy's not going to make it. He made it, obviously, changed his life, decided, you know what, I'm going to do something I'm passionate about, became a basketball coach because of his personality, his energy, work ethic. He worked his way through, worked at Villanova. Next thing you know, head coach at Boston U, head coach at Penn State. It's really a good story. Great story. Great ending to a bad situation.
Absolutely. Fran McCaffrey coaches at Iowa, and when Iowa and Penn State got together earlier in the season here, both of them are from Philadelphia, and McCaffrey said this will be a game between two teams that'll play hard, and the coaches will holler a lot.
Yeah, nobody will understand either one of them.
I guess you could add Bo Ryan to the mix as well from Philly. Shot clock has dipped under 10. Smotrich, an open look. Hardaway Jr. tracks it down. Nice save. Matt Glover defending Trey Burke. Off the bounce, Tim Hardaway Jr.
6 in a row. The countdown towards Matt Gayton starts. Matt Gayton's with 12 in a row over a couple games. 6 in a row for Hardaway. 2 in this game.
Gayton's down the end of the season with Iowa as the senior with the back-to-back spectacular games and wins. Nick Colella, 20, is now in the game for Penn State. Frazier, as mentioned, out with 2 fouls. Penn State's got to work a little harder without their star guard. Shot clock at 5. And Travis trying to create. Gets bailed out. At the beginning of the second half, we'll announce the winner of our Who's Next Band contest. It features during our Saturday college basketball games. 5 weeks ago, we started with 12 bands. Each week, the voters determine which band will survive. There are 2 left. Second half from Ohio and Dave Moisen from Kentucky. Stay tuned. We shall reveal the winner in the second half.
Is Dr. Bop in the headliners on that list, or Kilo?
You know, I just read the card here, but I'll check.
Michigan can absolutely not keep Ross Travis in front of them. 2 straight possessions. Smotrich beat for a foul, and then Travis went right at it. Well, he changed the call, made it offensive foul.
Yeah. Patrick Chambers wants an explanation. The end of the Northwestern game got pretty heated on a call he thought should not have been made against Penn State that allowed John Sherna to hit a game-tying and winning free throw.
Well, I think Morgan is moving up into Travis right there. He's outside the arc. And sometimes I think this year referees have looked at the feet to make sure they're outside of the arc and have at times forgotten the movement into a player or sideways into a player. And I think that was a case right there where Morgan moved over was outside the arc, but he moved up into Travis.
Think that'll change over time?
I think it's like anything else. You get used to something.
2 fouls on Ross Travis, 2 on Tim Frazier for Penn State.
Middle of the zone. You have to get in the middle of this zone. If you get in the middle of the zone, you'll beat it. Layup.
Novak was in the middle of that zone as the shot clock dips to 10.
Novak had Morgan wide open. Didn't fundamental rule. Catch it in the middle. Shot down opposite. He didn't look down.
Now he goes the more difficult way. It scores off balance.
That's a senior tough guy move, Jim. He just absolutely knocked Mitt Marshall out of the way. Took a hop, knocked in a tough shot.
And since the immediate timeout, 5 straight for Michigan and a 21-17 lead. Tough shot on the drive for Glover, and he is fouled and will step to the free throw line. Let's go back to Michigan and its most recent basket.
You don't do this as a weak freshman. Watch right there. Boom. Knocks Marshall off, but keeps his balance. And then goes ahead, Novak does, and knocks in the shot. That's where when people say, well, kid needs to gain weight. Well, he could use 20 pounds. Everybody can take the contact and not fall, but it's being able to take the contact, keep your balance, and be able to make a play. There's a big difference.
Stands at 6'4", 210 pounds. Along with Douglas, both seniors, and the sophomore is Tim Hardaway.
Novak has scored 1,000 points in his career and has never averaged over 10 points a game for any one season. That's amazing to me. I asked him about it. I said, man, you realize you've done it? He goes, well, I'm the best of the worst.
That's a good way to put it.
He's got a great sense of humor.
Novak also has 209 career threes. And on that particular possession, called for traveling. Second violation of Michigan in a little more than 11 minutes. Pretty good ball security so far. That's Jermaine Marshall. Another offensive rebound for Penn State. No conversion, though. And Jordan Morgan takes it out of the air. Smotrich.
Well, that is huge for Michigan. That is huge because, again, Smotrich and Hardaway are the keys. You know what you're going to get out of Douglas. You know what you're going to get out of Morgan and Novak. But Smotrich and Hardaway are capable of 25, 26 like Hardaway did against Illinois last game out. Funny, John Beilein told me Evan Smotrich will make threes when he gets a haircut.
And
I totally agree.
Rule of thumb when you coached as well?
Well, you know, here he's going to knock in a three without a haircut. But imagine how many of these he would make, according to John Beilein, if he got a haircut.
Really? In St. Mary's. Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods on ESPN, ESPN3, and also streaming live on WatchESPN.com. By the way, where will you be tomorrow?
I'm driving to Richmond right after this game. I'm doing a CAA championship game. Can't wait. It's going to be fun.
They are in the semis today, and the top 4 teams that finished in conference play, Drexel, VCU, George Mason, and ODU, are all playing. Michigan, biggest lead, 7.
That soapbox, but let's move them down.
I think a few people heard you. I've seen a few start to make the move. 13-4 run for the Wolverines with a trap out of the timeout. Here's Graham. Deflected, Michigan with a ball. Douglas on the race to the goal, scores.
He has, I'm sorry, Jim, but Stu Douglas has made those shots for the second half of this season. He has been a point guard, a shooting guard, a teacher, a counselor, a really tough defender. You see him here getting all after Frazier. He's made a huge difference, I think, for Michigan.
Well, you mentioned his defense. He defended Brandon Paul in that second half at Illinois into no field goals.
He just went right there, went up and blocked Frazier's shot.
Frazier playing in the game with 2 personal fouls. 15-4 run for the Michigan Wolverines, trying to get a share of the Big Ten Conference Championship, and a rocket from Douglas.
Well, now he's just getting silly. He's just lifting up over people from about 22, 23 feet and knocking it in. And didn't change expression, again, which is what a senior playing in a championship game is supposed to do. Change expression when the game is over. Don't worry about acting up when you make a shot midway through the first half.
When we started the broadcast, you saw the Michigan coaches and their excitement for the game. And Matt Shepard, who does radio for the Wolverines, was telling us as well that prior to breakfast today, relaxed atmosphere, a lot of smiles. And John Beilein said, guys, enjoy the moment. It's a big one.
Yeah, and you know, Douglas is a senior. Look how deep that is. That's after you saw the first one in transition. That's just how you know you're going. Tim Hardaway Jr. wants a Big Ten title. You heard John Beilein say right from the get-go, this is about a championship. And the great thing about the Big Ten, that's exactly how all of these coaches feel. They don't worry about seeding. They don't worry about putting people in the NBA. They want to win this championship. This championship means a ton to the Big Ten.
Michigan, to do that, to get a share, must win this game against Penn State and get some help. Ohio State must win at Michigan State later this afternoon. That's the scenario. So in one way, if Michigan wins this game, it gets to root for one of its most bitter rivals and at the same time root against one of its most bitter.
In some ways, it's a lose-lose. In some ways, it's a win-win.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out, but I get your point.
Bottom line is, Michigan needs to get this done and then root like crazy for Ohio State, period, regardless of rivalries or anything else.
Hardaway slips, Penn State with the ball. Penn State looking for its first field goal in a 6.5-minute span. Graham can't get it. Glover gets bounced out. Smotrich able to get the rebound. Points hard to come by for Penn State suddenly. After a pretty good start. That's a three ball, and that's knocked down by Smotrich again.
You remember Kevin Pittsnagel?
I do.
For West Virginia? This is the exact move, and we'll come back and we'll show it to you, that John Beilein rode Kevin Pittsnagel on to the Sweet 16 Final 8, Elite 8. And John Beilein made their money in the NCAA tournament a few years ago to get to the Final 8. Just insert Smotrich for Pittsnagel.
Smotrich has scored 12. His per-game average is 7. Tim Frazier had to sit on the bench for a while with 2 personal fouls and can't get going offensively. And without Frazier, the chance of Penn State winning is nil. Michigan is 12 for 15 from the floor. That is 80%. 6 of 8 with the 3-ball.
That's just a tough kid in Burke that plays low. Guards out there, play low, play under people. Don't raise up. Jordan Taylor doesn't turn the ball over because he gets low. Trey Burke is like Jordan Taylor 2.0. He's like the next version of Jordan Taylor in this league.
This is a 20-4 Michigan run. Frazier double team, has to give it up and throw it away. Vogrich open court to the hole. Burke missed an easy tap in on the weak side, and it's taken down by Trey Lewis. Penn State toward the bottom of the country in points scored. .324 first half. Tough first year for Patrick Chambers. As we all know by now, difficult ending to the season and likely to the career of Bruce Weber at the University of Illinois. Illini had opportunities against Michigan in the second half just 48 hours ago, but unable to tie that game late, and then Michigan rolled away to another win.
Yeah, I just don't know. You know, obviously the coach is going to get blamed. Anybody that's coached gets that. But I just don't know how the players at Illinois have allowed that to happen. I mean, there's talent on that team. They've had big wins. They've shown if they'll listen to Coach Weber, they can beat anybody. But they've showed, in my opinion, they've showed absolutely no pride, the players of Illinois.
Really?
None whatsoever. Look, I never believed When I played for Coach Knight, we never said, hey, we got to go win this one for Coach Knight. We didn't care about that. We said, hey, we got a game. We need to win the game. And the coaching situation shouldn't factor in unless you're immature and don't have pride in what you're doing. And that's how I feel about Illinois' players.
Well put. Penn State, after a pretty good start, 3 of its last 14, as you saw by the numbers. And now an unforced error gives Michigan another scoring opportunity in the hands of Trey Burke. Good swing to the right side.
That's how they kill you. Stand around a three-point line. Burke gets into the lane. They play out of it. As of right now, we talked about Smotrich and Hardaway. They are 7 for 9 combined, 5 for 7 from the three-point line. They're up 18, Michigan is on the road. That tells you when those two are hitting what they can do.
Well, that'll help. That's a Trey by Trey Lewis. 2 Michigan Wolverines already in double figures. Dan mentioned both of them, Smotrich and Hardaway Jr. Michigan charters out of Penn State right after the game and likely will catch the second half of Michigan State, Ohio State, and that will matter if the Wolverines win this game. Jermaine Marshall called for traveling, and back to Tim Hardaway.
Well, when you come down the floor, let's look at all the Michigan players outside the three-point line. I mean, they're all outside the three-point line, puts real pressure. 5 of them. As Novak comes in late. It just puts pressure on transition defense. That's the way basketball has changed. Used to be you run for layups. Now you run for the line, swing it, spread it, drive it, and shoot it from the three-point line.
Dan, Penn State almost 10 minutes now without a basket.
There goes his streak, by the way.
Yeah.
Ended at 6.
On the drive to the basket, Tim Frazier. He's got free throws coming up.
Well, you said it to start the game, and you've said it during the broadcast. Tim Frazier is it. And they can't win without him playing, particularly on the offensive end. In talking to Patrick Chambers, the coach at Penn State, the number is like 60% this kid Frazier accounts for in their offense. But in talking to Patrick Chambers, he said it's 80% because of all the attention that Frazier draws. And against Purdue, he drew 4 guys, particularly in the first half, with the 5th guy peering over his shoulder, and still was able to go get 16. They play hard, they play tough, they're just not quite talented enough right now, and the injuries certainly set them back.
You know, overmatched without Woodyard and Oliver, certainly, and it would have been a tough matchup even at full strength. Frazier, besides his points, now 190 career assists. That's the best ever of any player that has had a Penn State uniform. Under 90 seconds for the first half, all Michigan. In a game it must have. Burke to run the play under 10. And an illegal screen.
Yeah, Colton Christian into the game. They're not even paying attention to him setting screens. Borovniak was out there on 3 different times hedging the ball screen on Burke, and Christian has to dive to the basket. He just kind of stood there, and eventually he was going to get an illegal screen because he had set 2 previous in that possession.
Here's Frazier rising and unable to score. Ball was down and spun out. Tim Frazier with just 5 first-half points, and those 2 fouls he picked up within moments of the game beginning.
He dove right there, Christian did. That was the right play. He got held, no call.
Open 3, Marshall. He's having a good season.
That was a great play by Tim Frazier. Tim Frazier just accelerated to his right hand, knowing that his shooter, Marshall, was in the same corner. Choice for the defense. Stop Frazier or leave Marshall. They left Marshall. 3-point play.
Well, the Lions have shaved off a few points from that deficit.
Well, they're not going to go away. They're a tough group. You can see it. You can see it this morning. They're an energized group, just not talented enough.
7-0 run right now for Penn State. Let's look at Evan Smotrich and his play on offense.
He's been terrific. He's been absolutely terrific. There you see a screen and dive, and now out at the three-point line. He's the most important guy for Michigan moving forward. If he can play like this, where he's confident, you've seen all the different things he can do. Shoot three, stepping in, pull up and shoot, dive after a screen roll. He's a kid that can score a variety of ways, and you need that in tournament play.
When you see his scoring average, Dan, typically it's 7.5 points a game. Right now he has 12. So you're talking about a team that wants to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. What should he average?
Well, you've got to be able to shoot. And I believe he should be a double-figure guy the way Michigan runs their offense with the weapons they have. Because Trey Burke will find you. He'll find you pick and pop. He'll find you pick and dive. He'll find you in transition. And he just needs to be more involved and more confident as he has been tonight.
What's Beeline's play here with time running out?
Well, he needs to get the ball into the middle and look down. They'll have somebody open against his zone if they can get it to the middle.
Michigan over back, and Penn State now can knock that lead under 10 points for the conclusion of the first half. That's 8 Michigan turnovers.
And most of them have come off the dribble. You know, Trey Burke turned it over going too fast. You saw right there. This has to, you know, Stu Douglas got to jump Frazier right now. He let him get the ball way too easy.
Final seconds, first half. Frazier missed it. Good balance for the Michigan Wolverines, who have shot the ball exceptionally well in the first half, despite not scoring in the last 3 minutes. Smotrich with 12, Hardaway Jr. 10, Burke and Douglas with 7. Michigan 39, Penn State 28. Now let's send it back to Steve Weissman for the UPS halftime report. Enjoy the music today with highlights from our first half. Jim Barber, the coach, Dan Dockich. Penn State closes out the first half on a 7-0 run. So how does that benefit the Lions for the second half?
Well, it keeps them in the game. You know, people often underestimate the last couple minutes of a half. 7-0 run in the last 6 minutes. Penn State now has a shot. They get the ball. They can make a run. Had Michigan gone on a 7-0 run, this game was over. But the thing Penn State has to do is they've got to guard better. 70% shooting in the first half by Michigan. Wide open looks. Trey Burke taking it wherever he wants. Have to guard better. Get in a stance, get down, keep people in front of them.
Penn State down by 11 with a modest first half from Tim Frazier. Just 5 points on 1 of 7 shooting and those 2 personal fouls that handicapped him early. Frazier taking the big man off the dribble. Michigan some late help there. It's an and one for Tim Frazier.
Well, Tim Frazier came off a handoff. And really, Jordan Morgan, number 52, was supposed to be over for the help. But he wasn't there. He was slow out of the gate here to start the second half. Burke came over, committed the foul. That's just a function of, you know, coaches talk about it all the time. Don't worry about the score. Play the second half. Morgan lazy. Frazier going hard.
9 consecutive points for Penn State. At stake for Michigan, a great deal. A win over Penn State, a win by Ohio State at Michigan State. 3-way tie at the end of the season for the Big Ten title. Here's Douglas. Morgan, short. Michigan now nearly 3.5 minutes without a point. Frazier again off the dribble. Ball tapped out of bounds. And Penn State keeps it. And Frazier, who comes in averaging almost 19 points a game, at 24 points, 5 rebounds and 6 assists at Purdue. Deep catch inside and free throws for Travis.
Same thing there. This time it was Novak. Novak just kind of relaxed on the inbound. Travis just played harder, went after Novak. Novak a little bit surprised. You know, as a coach, You go in with an 11-point lead, and you know the game's just getting started, really, particularly on the road. And you're telling your team, look, they're going to come out and play really hard. Sometimes your team listens to you. Sometimes they don't. First minute here, Michigan certainly hasn't.
More often than not, did the team listen to you?
Well, I mean, when I had really good players, it seemed like they listened to me more than...
It usually happens that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But, you know, Michigan's the one playing for something here. It's really inexcusable not to come out in his first 5 minutes and just get after Penn State.
Burke off the dribble scoring. 10 points for Trey Burke, another Michigan Wolverine into double figures. And an offensive foul.
Yeah, that's kind of the call du jour. The referees like making that call. It kind of puts them in the spotlight. I think in that case, on Graham, he moved up into the defender without giving him a step to get around the screen. You run into a guy, it's going to be called.
A call du jour.
It's kind of the popular, used to be, you know, the charge with the big dramatic stuff.
Personal foul on Ross Travis. That's 3 on him. And to the free throw line, Zach Novak, finishing a spectacular career at Michigan, along with Stu Douglas. And how deep will the Wolverines go when we get to the tournament?
The thing you look at in a tournament, you have a point guard that understands shot clock, possession, time, all those different things. Do you have leadership? And more than any of that, do you have shooting? Because shooting just makes all the difference in the world in a tournament setting, and I think Michigan has all three, particularly if Morgan gets back to solidifying the middle of the defense, which I don't think he's done here today, but he's done for the most part this season.
And if you were Joe Lunardi, the ESPN bracketologist for a day, what kind of seed would you give Michigan?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on what happens today. You know, their win, part of a Big Ten championship. We'll see how they do in the tournament. But I think they could probably get up as high as a 3 seed if everything goes their way.
Really?
Maybe a 4. 4 would probably be more realistic.
Tim Frazier with 9 points, 4 of those in the second half. Penn State hanging around down by 9. Good shot fake, but Novak too deep. And here's Matt Glover. Jermaine Marshall for 3. Sasha Borovniak at the next whistle in the game for Penn State. Burke had a look at Morgan for the moment. He's got a nice matchup inside on Frazier. Down to 8 on the shot clock. And another chance for Penn State to get a little closer. Frazier, crossover, left it short. Both teams having difficulty scoring the ball over the last couple of minutes. This is Douglas. Finds a shooter.
How great is that from Novak? Novak airballs one from the right side. A lot of guys would be shook by that, let it bother him. Not him. Goes to the left side, drills a 3.
Michigan shooting 70% in the first half. Now 8 of 12 with a 3 ball. John Graham going inside and missing, and Morgan clears him out with a rebound. Michigan on the move again, and this is Burke. Michigan keeps the ball and right now has a 12-point lead. Take a look at the Wolverines moments ago.
When you miss a 3, you can't worry about it. Stu Douglas to the baseline, little wraparound, finds Novak, who drills a 3 from the left after airballing from the right.
Championship.
Somebody did not get the Dan Dockich memo to the athletic director about moving the fans a little closer.
You're seeing the story of my life right there. Just a guy sitting with all his buddies. I always say I get invited once, never twice. Hey, Dan, come on over here. We go. Never twice.
Oh, that's not true.
How great is that? Just, he's waiting for a foul ball.
Yeah. Michigan 22-8 for the season, 12-5 in the league, and with a win today and some help from Ohio State, tri-champions of the Big Ten Conference. And they're in the maize and blue and with the basketball. Novak from the free throw line.
Been doing that for 4 years, Jim. Undersized, but understands it. Puts a little fade on the jump shot, particularly going right. His shoulders are behind his heel, but he has good balance when he goes up. His is really an amazing story, Zach Novak. I was at Indiana as an assistant coach. They called, wanting him to walk on. I mean, can he play baseball and walk on the basketball team? And the staff there, no, you know, not really. And then John Beilein sees him, signs him, one of the best leaders in Michigan history, 1,000-point scorer.
Interesting, too, the assistants were high on Trey Burke. And at the time, question was, could they use a point guard? And John Beilein, after some consideration and discussion, as Burke was originally a Penn State commit, signed him up, and the rest is history.
Well, I think a year ago, certainly to start the season, nobody ever imagined Darius Morris would have been a draft choice in the NBA. And John Beilein told me that. That came out of the blue. Certainly as the season was going on, they could see it. They thought Trey Burke, as you said, would be a backup, maybe play with Morris, but Morris to the Lakers, and the rest is history for Burke.
Michigan has scored the last 7 points, bumped the lead to a comfortable 16 with 14:20 to go. Tomorrow night, ESPN's coverage of Championship Week tips off with 2 championship games. 7 Eastern CAA, 9 Eastern West Coast Conference. Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods on ESPN, ESPN3, and also streaming live on WatchESPN.com. You will be there in Richmond for the Colonial Athletic title game. All 4 top finishers in conference play in the regular season are still alive.
Yeah, and I love VCU. I just think they're an improved team. Shaka Smart has such energy with his team. Shaka Smart's going to get offered some jobs here coming up pretty soon. And if I was an athletic director, Shaka Smart and Brad Stevens just back up the truck. What do you want? Let's go. It's up to them to turn down, you know, an offer they just maybe can't refuse.
Who do you think moves, if anybody, after the season?
Well, I hate this, but, you know, Bruce Weber, I think there's a, you know, when you lose momentum in your program, it's just very difficult to get it back. I hope it doesn't happen because I think he is a terrific coach. And then there's a couple others in the Big Ten. I hate to speculate on that, but I just know this. If I'm an AD, Shaka Smart, Greg Marshall, and Brad Stevens are 3 guys I've got to take a great look at.
Shaka Smart, who took VCU to the Final Four last year. Penn State keeps the basketball. And a relatively fresh 35 to operate with, now down to 25. Trey Lewis for 3, off the pass from Frazier. Another opportunity. No 4th chance. Hardaway Jr. with a rebound. On that possession, Penn State 0 for 4. And with that personal foul, let's take a look at how Trey Burke of Michigan fuels the frenzy. Brought to you by Diet Mountain Dew. Averaging 14.5 points per game. That's 11th best among NCAA true freshmen. 144 assists. That is 6th best. From Columbus, Ohio. He couldn't wait for the first opportunity to beat Ohio State.
And that's an area right there where Tim Hardaway Jr. has to improve his game. Had a mismatch with Frazier. Not only did he miss the shot, but he looked completely uncomfortable going up against a smaller man.
Jermaine Marshall had a strong start to this game. He scores 2 there. He now has 13 for Penn State. The Nittany Lions top scorer. It has been Marshall and Frazier, and that's pretty much it for Penn State in its scoring. Morgan backing his man down and scoring with the right hand.
Well, Borovniak missed the scouting report because Jordan Taylor is a left shoulder kid. He is going to go to his left shoulder for a right-handed jump hook. Borovniak just got dominated, let Jordan Taylor back him down, and then turn to that same shoulder. Jordan Morgan, I'm sorry. Jordan Morgan, not Jordan Taylor. Jordan Taylor is an either shoulder kid in the post.
Good recovery there,
Thank
by the
you.
way. Penn State with scoring droughts in this game of 7 minutes and over 5.5 minutes.
See, that was an example right there of what I've said about Jordan Morgan patrolling the inside. Frazier got to the lane. Morgan came over and showed himself and immediately got back to his own for the rebound. So he intimidated the shot and went back to the rebound. He's been doing that all year. It's been an unsung part of Michigan's team.
Douglas to find a shooter, and that's Smotrich. Money.
Confidence. Shot fake, step back, drill a three. That's a kid playing with a great deal of confidence when you're able to do that.
Evan Smotrich is 10 points above his scoring average today on a 12-2 run. And you mentioned you think he should be a double-figure scorer, and he is that today.
I do. And when you let Jordan Morgan back you down, get his feet in the paint, turn to his left shoulder, he can be a double-digit scorer as well. Here, watch the confidence. Shot fake, guy goes by, step back, set your feet, drill a three.
East Championship presented by American Eagle Outfitters starts on Tuesday. The first of 4 games at noon Eastern on ESPN2 as DePaul takes on UConn. Second round buys, West Virginia, Georgetown, South Florida, and Louisville. And the cream of the group, Syracuse, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and Marquette.
That bracket looks like a math equation from Goodwill Hunting.
Compared to the West Coast Championship bracket,
Yeah.
which has been reduced to 2 teams, yes. 8 to shoot inside Graham, and the follow is good for Ross Travis. He'll get a free throw when we come back. Baskets hard to come by for Penn State, which trails by 17.
You know, if they're going to make a run, them being Penn State, this is the time. You have a chance to cut it to 15, 14, and Novak, Douglas on the bench. Some subs are in. You got a shot here.
Michigan needing a win and an Ohio State victory, which will be tough at the Breslin Center later this afternoon to get a share of the Big Ten regular season championship. All 12 teams in the league convene on Thursday in Indianapolis, with 8 of them playing to start the postseason tournament. 8 to shoot it. Smotrich, good pass inside. Penn State takes it away. Lions with the block and with the basketball and trying to make things happen down by a bunch.
You and I were talking off air. Ross Travis is a kid you can build a program around. I mean, he's tough. He's aggressive. Mind you, a little bit. He's not quite as big as Jamel Cornley, but he's tough like that.
Personal foul on Penn State as Smotrich goes down. It's on John Graham.
Well, John Graham is going to knock Smotrich right in the middle of the lane. Usually you think those things are a flop, but here's how you figure out if they're a flop or not. Watch the kid's reaction when he walks his first 2 steps after getting knocked down. Smotrich was just a little bit dazed by the shot, so I'll buy that he was knocked down.
We have seen plays like that reviewed, by the way, at Monitor to see if there's any type of flagrant violation.
Yeah, because any shot to the head, automatic review.
Under 10 minutes left. Burke lost the ball, picked up by Penn State, and Burke commits a personal foul.
Well, Smotrich, we're going to go back to the play, gets knocked down, and you can see he's legitimately dinged around. You can tell it by the eyes. And usually when a kid gets hit, he kind of smiles it off. But then on the other end, again, you mentioned the turnovers, 8 in the first half, most of them off the dribble. Again, Trey Burke going somewhere he doesn't need to get into, turns it over, fouls from a dribble.
Do you remember the toughest knock you took as a player? was trying to remember what the worst injury you had or knock you took.
I had a couple concussions, but should have had more, but I have a size 8 head.
Oh.
So, filled with rocks. Hard to damage.
Penn State still lots of opportunities to get closer. Nothing doing, and off the dribble, it's Stu Douglas's turn to score the ball.
One of the things Michigan's offense does, and Big Ten fans will know this, it creates lanes for the drive in the slot area off each elbow. And there's Stu Douglas, took it far enough with an extra dribble to get a layup.
Here's Travis, true freshman, making his 15th start today. Puts a lot of time in the gymnasium and looks as if it shows.
He's a willing guy. Like, he's willing to draw contact, Travis is. He's willing to knock somebody around. In fact, I mentioned earlier, you know, he got in a little bit of a tiff in the walkthrough this morning because one of the walk-ons had nailed him. So he's not backing down from anybody. This is a great pass off screen and roll. Travis kind of slips the screen and Frazier slips it through. You know, that should never happen because when you're opposite the ball, the rule for basketball players is when you're 2 passes away from the ball, I mean, the ball's in the right, you're 2 passes away, you are set in the lane. Be in help first in the lane and figure it out coming outside, not the other way around. Don't be outside and, oh, my gosh, I got to get in the lane to get some help.
Off that Tim Frazier assist, his 3rd of the game, as Jermaine Marshall flashes to the goal and gets free throws. Frazier, the all-time season assist leader for Penn State.
Well, let's show you what I'm talking about here. Let's freeze it right here. Let's just freeze it. Most coaches put a line right in the middle of the paint, right here. And when the ball is opposite you, you get into the lane. You either sink to here, but you stay in the lane. You can see Vogrich is outside the lane. Now, just being in the middle of the lane, you don't even have to know what you're doing. Just being in the middle of the lane, Vogrich would get a hand on that pass. He's 5 feet out of position outside the lane. It's a layup.
Up. 56 for Michigan and 42 for Penn State. And Jermaine Marshall, averaging 8 points a game, better than last year, now has 16. Vogrich on a wind-up 3. And Marshall with the rebound.
Now, you want to know how Michigan get himself in trouble. They've taken 4 bad threes.
There's Ross Travis working hard.
I love that kid. I think that kid's going to be a star in this league. He plays hard. He's got good enough skill. He'll get more skill. He'll get a better jump shot. He'll get some post moves. He'll get stronger. I think he's going to be terrific in this league.
And as mentioned, puts a lot of time into his game with Jim Rat. Offensive foul, Jordan Morgan. Penn State trying to work its way back in with 7:19 to go and a lot on the line for Michigan.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Right now, back to Jim and Dan.
As you mentioned earlier, Steve, 22 in a row for the Kentucky Wildcats. Here are the Big Ten scenarios for championships. Michigan State wins the league outright with a victory over Ohio State. Buckeyes get a share of the title with a win at Michigan State. Michigan gets a share of the Big Ten title with a win today and must root for Ohio State to beat Michigan State. And you know how that feels among fans of the Maize and Blue. Not a good feeling.
No, but it will be if Ohio State wins.
Yes.
And you get a share of a Big Ten championship. You know, the things you play for in college basketball that have rings, you know, those are the most important. You know, they have ring for Big Ten champion, Big Ten tournament champion, NCAA Final Four, NCAA champion. You know, those are the things that mean the most looking back after your career's over. Hey, I got a ring.
Well, you know something about that, having been a player and an assistant under the Hall of Famer Bob Knight.
Yeah, but I don't, at Indiana, we won 1 Big Ten championship, got to the Final 8. I don't get to sit at the big boy table. The big boy table is Scott May and Quinn Buckner and Steve Alford and guys that won national championships. It's a tough. Wow.
Once an 18-point Michigan lead is down to 10. think some of Michigan's play, shooting the 3 ball, has got them in a bit of difficulty?
I do, Jim. I think they've taken 4 threes in this half that have been rushed. I don't think they took any in the first half. And that's where Michigan gets itself in trouble.
Hardaway in trouble, lost the ball. Picked up by Tim Frazier. Basket here would be big. Marshall on the drive. And free throws coming out for the sophomore out of Pennsylvania. Moments ago, above the rim play.
This is against the zone. This should never happen against the zone. This was a 2-3. And again, I'm talking about Jordan Morgan. Watch Jordan Morgan. He is late getting the help, number 52. This has been huge. Like, he stays with his man, number 5. Number 5 can't shoot. And you'll see John Beilein just be absolutely hostile, because that should never happen against a good defensive team, number 1, and certainly should never happen against the zone. Now, give Marshall credit. He just went harder than what Michigan's defensive players went and beat the help to the spot.
And Marshall 9 points above his average. Can cut the lead to 8. The 11-0 run for Penn State. In less than 3 minutes. Frazier. Concern over the faces of the Wolverine fans, and why not? Comfortable lead of 19 gone.
Tim Hardaway puts the ball over his head and keeps it there. You know, if you're going to pass high, you have to fake low. Tim Hardaway is too good a player to be as sloppy as he has been with the basketball these last 2 possessions. Once off the dribble and then once off the pass. Way too casual when you're playing anybody, much less for an opportunity to share a piece of the Big Ten championship.
Well, this place has gotten a little more rowdier, and I wonder if some of those fans snuck down from the upper deck and said, hey, let's get close to the action, because now we've got some action going on.
If they haven't, they should right now.
How about this, Dan? 2-possession game.
And it's all been because Michigan, I think, has just relaxed. Settled for jump shots, been soft with the ball.
Hardaway almost lost it, splitting the defense, and Trey Burke down to set up a play.
John Beilein has Zach Novak in, and he did not want to bring him in just yet.
Novak with 4 personal fouls. This is Novak. Big basket.
That's a senior. That's the difference between a senior Novak and a sophomore in Hardaway. Hardaway made a mistake, compounded it by making another mistake. Novak comes in, just says, the heck with it, I'm going to play. We need to win.
9th personal foul on Michigan as a team. Look at Zach Novak once again.
This is a great shot for you. Watch your lifts. Now, 1 dribble. But I tell you what, Penn State's playing hard. Trey Lewis was out of the play, hustled to get back in, made it a tough shot for Novak.
Zach's numbers as Ross Travis goes to the line on a 1-and-1. Michigan with 9 team fouls, and Penn State starting to take advantage. Evan Smotrich now has picked up 4 as well for Michigan.
You know, when I said this kid here, Ross Travis, the kind of kid you can build a program around, I'm not saying he's Patrick Ewing. But what I'm saying is, you want a culture. Patrick Chambers wants a culture of toughness, aggressiveness, and that's what that kid has. And that's what I mean. He will set the tone for the culture of Penn State for years to come.
And without Billy Oliver for the rest of the season and Cameron Woodyard, they have fought their way back into this game against a very good Michigan team with a lot to play for.
Michigan has done more standing around in these last 2 possessions than they have done all game. This should just be a switch.
7 to shoot it. That's a 3 and 1. Wow.
Terrible offensive possession. Dribble around, stand around, but watch Trey Burke. I said he was Jordan Taylor 2.0. That's what Jordan Taylor would do for Wisconsin. Knock it in late clock. Watch this. Just lifts up. Frazier got him on the elbow. 3-point play. You just can't let Trey Burke get the ball back late clock. He handles it too easy. 4-point play now.
And with one play, Dan has bumped the lead from 6 to 10. Large play by Trey Burke, the freshman, who committed to Penn State originally and then changed his mind as Penn State was going through some coaching changes. Michigan to the zone. Eight to shoot it from the left corner. Turnabout's fair play, and that's it for Zach Novak. That's his 5th foul. What a comeback for Penn State after giving up a 3-and-1.
This was created by Tim Frazier. Look, Novak and Douglas take Frazier. Marshall slips in behind, or excuse me, that's Lewis slips in behind. And Novak has to recover, gets out of control, and fouls. Now, that's not good. It'll be an assist for Frazier, but that's the attention that Frazier draws, even in a zone.
Cold-blooded 3, deep left corner, Trey Lewis.
Well, you see, Novak jumps back to his spot, doesn't know where Lewis is. Lewis, smart play.
Patrick Chambers maybe building something special here.
They just play hard. And he's got tough guys that have bought into what he wants done. They always play well because they're not talented enough to always play well. But as the talent comes, if they can maintain the culture of playing hard, you are going to see a Penn State team that's going to compete here in the Big Ten and compete very, very well.
Chance to move it back to a 2-score game. Michigan playing for a share, at least positioning for a share of the Big Ten championship. But its large lead is gone, and now up 62-56 to go along with foul difficulties.
See, the ball has to go in the Hardaway, and instead of dribbling it this way, he has to look opposite to at least force the defense to be put under some pressure. Otherwise, you just keep pressing them, using clock, getting it down to 15, 16 seconds by the time they set up.
Last time Burke bailed him out with a 3. 8 on the shot clock. Burke again against Lewis. Missed it. Rebound Smotrich and a new possession.
Tell you what, John Beilein might want to get a timeout or at least get him into some kind of offensive set because all they're doing is standing Michigan. John Beilein, by the end of the season, has over 150 to 200 different type movements off of his sets. And as you see right now, they're not doing anything.
Burke with a head nod, ready to go to work. Doubled, 6 to shoot it. Inside Hardaway, too strong. On the floor, who's got it? Held ball, Michigan will keep it. With 3 minutes to go. Shot clock poised at 1, and Michigan's big lead has evaporated. Jim Barber, Dan Dockich, because of these scrum moments to go. 1 second remains on the shot clock, and Michigan hanging on right now by 6.
Well, Michigan has completely stopped offensively. I get that you're trying to use time, but you got to have a feel for the game, and it's been nearly the last 4 minutes. They haven't run much of what they have in their arsenal off this inbounds. First option is going to be throw it right up to Hardaway. See Hardaway right in the middle of the lane. That'll be the first option. Then there'll be a couple double screens, it looks like, between Vogritz, Smotrich, starting with number 1, Stuart Douglas. Smotrich right there. That was a good move by Michigan. Really good move by Michigan. They missed Smotrich coming back to the ball.
Michigan with a timeout down to 2, and if you're just joining us, Wolverines pretty comfortable spot. Moments ago up 56 to 37, and then Penn State went on a 13-0 run and for the Lions from the offensive standpoint? What got it going for them?
I think just going hard. I thought Marshall going to the rim with a dunk shot. I really believe it was more on Michigan than it was Penn State. You can't relax against Penn State. Penn State is not talented, but they play really hard. I thought Michigan took 4 bad threes, quick threes that they were not going to make, relaxed on the defensive end, allowed Penn State to get a little bit of momentum. And as we all know, you play somebody at their home, they get momentum, particularly late, you're in for a tough night.
You mentioned Marshall, 22 points. That's a game best. 13 for Ross Travis. Penn State is in the game, even though Tim Frazier is 3 for 13 from the floor and has scored 9.
Well, Travis has been really tough, and Marshall has gained confidence as this game has gone. Started well, lost some, came back.
Second to shoot it. Violation, Michigan. John Beilein's team trying to position itself for a share of the Big Ten title. We'll call upon Jordan Morgan. Zach Novak is gone. 5 personal fouls, and Spotrich comes out.
If you are Penn State, there is no need for a 3 unless it's wide open off penetration or an offensive rebound kickout. 10 fouls on Michigan, so you go to the line twice. Everything they do has to involve going to the rim.
Penn State is 13 of 16 from the free throw line. Douglas slaps hands, matched up against Frazier. The pick from Travis. Here's Marshall, off balance, rolls it in.
Now, if you're Michigan, somebody, mostly Hardaway, has to get into the middle of this trap and play through it.
.15 to shoot. Long 3 on the way. Too long. And saved by Trey Lewis. Here come the Nittany Lions. Like an isolation play on the right side against Hardaway for the moment. Frazier on the drive. Missed it. And not by much.
Jordan Morgan is doing a pretty good job last couple possessions of being where he's supposed to be. He influenced that shot by Frazier, but Frazier still with a pretty good look, one that he normally makes.
Since the 9.5-minute mark, Michigan has scored 6 points. Trey Burke, the freshman, scores for the Wolverines.
How strong was that? You know, too many times players fall into shots. That time, Burke took an extra dribble, gathered himself, used his hip and his rear end to position himself for a layup. There's Morgan again.
Ross Travis got the rebound, and Travis was fouled with 1:09 to go.
Fouls on number 10, Tim Hardaway Jr., his second.
2 on Tim Hardaway Jr., double bonus time for Penn State. That's 2 free throws. Nittany Lions at 12 and 18 for the season and 4 and 13 in the league. With a victory, would escape last place.
Watch Trey Burke, very mature for a freshman. He's taking on his former teammate in AAU, Trey. He just gets in the lane, and instead of falling forward, he jumps back, squares his shoulders. The reason that's important, it gives you the most strength, and it enables you to get your chin on the backboard, your chin on the rim, look up, and make the shot, as opposed to falling and broad jumping into the lane.
Dan, Penn State's got a foul to give with 5 team fouls. You want to be a little bit more aggressive?
Yeah, right now. Right now, you just foul. You don't let this run any longer.
1 minute to go in the game.
Less than a minute left. Will Michigan position itself for a Big Ten championship?
Now you don't. Now you get your hands off of people.
Hardaway Jr. on the pull-up, buries it. Marshall, tough shot, off balance, missed it. Lewis tried to tip, and a tap out, controlled by Hardaway Jr. and now Penn State in a desperate mode with 26.7 to go.
Fouls on number 5, his third. Team 6.
Well, they had Tim Hardaway Jr. Penn State did, locked up, and you're going to see both guys are going to kind of go for a fake right there, they kind of run into each other. Frazier and Marshall. Big time shot by Hardaway Jr. Big time.
Penn State commits team foul 7. 4 now on Glover, and a 1-and-1 for the Wolverines. A lot of excitement in this building in the last 2 minutes, but Michigan with a free throw here makes it a 3-score game.
Number 3, Trey Burke at the line. 1-and-1.
Middle of the season, if you're Michigan, you might have gone back, showed film, and been disappointed about certain things. But this game is for a share of the Big Ten title. You're just happy to win and then watch Ohio State, Michigan State.
And if you're a Michigan fan rooting for Ohio State, which would drop all 3 teams into a 3-way tie for the conference title.
What a great job he has done at Michigan. And again, no surprise, because the job he did at West Virginia was off the charts.
Penn State must make up 8 points in 25 seconds. Frazier in a hurry to Trey Lewis on a rise and shoot 3. Rebound Vogrich in Michigan. Set to put a cap on this one. Finished 13-5 for the regular season in the Big Ten, and trying to get some help later this afternoon from the Buckeyes.
You know, really in basketball, Michigan State's a bigger rivalry than Michigan-Ohio State.
True. It's in football.
Right. You know, so I don't think it's really an issue for anybody that's a Michigan fan rooting for Ohio State. Now, I understand, you know, football dominates, but in basketball, you know, that's the Draymond Green after losing to Michigan. Guaranteed victory, went Joe Willie Namath on us and delivered.
Final seconds of this one, and a good effort by Penn State. Without Cameron Woodyard, without Billy Oliver. That 3 brings it back to a 2-score game with 7.8 left.
With the score, Michigan 69, Penn State 63.
Now let's get to our championship week preview here on ESPN as we're ready to close out this game.
Championship week is the most electric, nerve-wracking,
Dramatic
week of college basketball. Man, it is flat out fun.
Blood, sweat, tears,
heart-wrenching,
Passion,
upsets,
buzzer beaters, epic runs.
Championship week is fantastic.
ESPN Championship Week by the numbers. March 1st through the 11th. As mentioned, 225 men's and women's games. Dan Dockage will cover most of those, I believe. 36 tickets punched, 25 conferences.
No, but I will be at the CAA Championship. I'm getting in a car driving from here to Richmond, Virginia. And then we're gonna have a great time at the Big Ten tournament. We do the night games on Thursday, then the afternoon on Friday, and then I'm headed to Bristol. Gonna have a great time. Can't wait. This is the most fun time of the year, obviously, for guys like us.
And in Indianapolis, Michigan obviously there, a chance to win an outright tournament title. Like a favorite at this point with all that's gone on last couple of weeks?
You know, I think Indiana's going to be difficult to beat in this, and I don't discount Michigan State, but Michigan State has to get scoring from their wings. Brandon Wood did not show up against Indiana. In fact, they airballed the free throw late in the game. Keith Appling, the point guard, was a little bit shocked at Christian Watford's length and size guarding, and pretty good move by Tom Crean. So their guards have to play. You know what you're going to get out of Draymond Green. Knicks is better. But their guards have to play. And Thad Matta, you know, don't discount Ohio State. Thad Matta's magic. And I was going to say Conseco Fieldhouse. Now it's Banker's Life.
And Patrick Chambers, his team will finish 4-14 in the league. Will play on Thursday in Indianapolis. And with everybody back next year for the most part. '18th point of the game for Trey Burke, who had a cool-looking 2 when they needed it the most.
Yeah, he's just a tough kid that knows how to win. And, you know, talking about guys coming back, Marshall certainly was outstanding today. We've talked about Travis. Tim Frazier did not have a good night. But if Marshall and Frazier can play like this and add Tim Frazier with a normal night, it'll be a tough out here in Indianapolis, Penn State is.
Frazier pressured into 3 of 15 and 4 of 16 as this one is set to finish. Michigan now in position for a Big Ten championship with some help later today, namely an Ohio State win at Michigan State. Our final score is Michigan 71, Penn State 65. For Dan Dockage and our entire ESPNU crew, I'm Jim Barber. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Let's go back to